can go ahead and watch this at a later time. If it's just being obnoxious and the computer's not wanting to work, or just completely close out Zoom and restart the whole app in of itself. So yeah, again, if it's just being a butt, then just go ahead and watch it later. If it's one of those things that just keeps giving you problems. So um, yeah, I do at least want to give you guys that option of feeling like it's all or nothing. So yeah, we were recording this. So um, anyway, like I was saying, so you do have till Friday to get it in. Needing feedback, let me know. The other thing is that um, everything that you're going to need for class is going to be on Moodle. And if you guys, I'll be working on it later today, as well as the end of the week, that the readings and the assignments will be due on the same day. So like today we had, and I'll go ahead and share this with you guys so you guys can get it, you guys could see it. So you guys will see here. So this is week 2, session 1, because we're Wednesday class. You'll see here everything that's to do. This Genesis 1 and 2, drama of scripture, supplemental reading, and scripture as Noah. So this is all that's going to be due for today, for this week. Likewise, on Friday, this is going to be due Genesis 3-4, 6-9. But this is a little redundant because you'll already have read it over here. So either you could skim over it really quickly, or you could skip over it. Because again, you'll already have read it, and along with the reading and the reading quiz. I'm sure you guys will find the reading quiz pretty easy. And again, as I stated last time, but just as a quick reminder, you can take the reading quiz as many times as you need in order to get the highest grade possible. That you could take the reading quiz as many times as you need in order to get the highest grade possible. And so you could even go in, take a look at what questions are on there, and then do the reading. And so that would probably be a wise way to do it. Because again, you're not going to be marked down for having taken it 40 times. It's just, yeah, it's not going to happen. So go ahead and look at the quiz, see what's on there. Either have your laptop open to see what questions there are, or just kind of keep a mental note in your head of what I'm looking for. Because yeah, there's a reason why I'm asking these questions, and it revolves around the fact that the questions are trying to get you towards a certain point that you're not only wrestling and remembering the material, but then also what am I trying to get to stick for you guys, and what's going to be important, what are we going to be talking about in class that I'm wanting for you guys to wrestle with and remember. So that being said, again, look at the quiz as many times as you feel necessary, and take the quiz as often as possible, so that way you guys are getting interacting with the material. Again, yeah, and it's going to keep going down the line. This is the reading, this is the assignment, reading, the assignment, reading, the assignment, reading, the assignment. Anytime you see redundance in the reading, especially at scripture story, I try to reduce that as much as possible. But if you've already read it, feel free to just bounce right over that and then go on to the next few chapters. So again, anytime you see redundance, that do we have to read the same passages twice? No. So any questions about that? I know it's still 7:50 in the morning, and questions aren't necessarily the first thing coming to our heads, other than why in the world do we have to have classes this early?
The next assignment is due on Friday?
Yeah, the reading quiz. Yeah, it'll be due on Friday, 7:30. So between now and Friday, you'll have 1,000,000,001 chances to be able to take the quiz. But again, it would be wise, because it is on the reading, to take a look at the quiz, and then as you're working through the reading, to be able to see, okay, what's part data looking for?
So does that mean Genesis 12 and like that reading that's due Wednesday, like before Wednesday?
So that's actually due next Wednesday, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the reading quiz will cover. The reading quiz is going to cover largely the drama of scripture reading. Just to make sure you guys are reading that, and it'll always refer back. So it's not. I'm not going to ask like random questions from like reading. Like I'm not going to ask a random question from your Epic of Eden reading, because I want most of the time to be spent. Epic of Eden will do a lot of work to fill in some of the parts that drama scripture misses, but there will be a lot of main things that I want you guys to pull out of drama scripture, and you guys will see that there. yeah, it'll be pretty obvious what I'm looking for as you guys are working through it. Yeah, so even if you guys are looking at the quiz right now, you guys will see like, yeah, it's not too bad. 5 questions. One of them is a question pertaining to, it's more of an honesty statement asking if you've read a good amount, which is a good amount is 80%, so at least 80%. It's our professors, our expectations as professors is that you guys are reading every single line, jot and tittle, like everything. But I also know that especially with some of the demands that I want to offer you guys grace, and knowing just sometimes that you're having to pick between helping your grandparents, helping your younger brothers and sisters with their homework, or doing your own homework, and sometimes just not everything you're able to get to. So again, that's why I offer you guys as many times to take the quiz, because there are certain sections I want you to focus in on that I want you to work through. So again, with the grace, hoping that it is my hope and my intention and expectation that we're spending time with the material that we need to, more focused instead of just arbitrary reading countless amount of pages. But yeah, if you are going to have to pick, and I hate saying this, but this is just to be honest, if you're picking between what to read, read the Bible and drama scripture. And so if you're going to fluff, you're probably going to do it on supplemental reading. It's going to be really helpful to know. It's going to fill in a lot of blanks. If you can come back to it later, great. If you could even read through half of what Epic of Eden, that's good. But yeah, I'm trying to be realistic with what you guys are going to be able to accomplish. I think you guys can do it all, but I also do understand that excruciating circumstances sometimes don't allow for those kinds of, being able to feel like you can do everything that you can. So, are there any questions about that? All right. Well, if you have any more questions, feel free to shoot me an email. Meet me up on Zoom again. Meet up on Zoom Tuesdays, Thursdays, 2 to 4 o'clock p.m. Do you have any questions? Yeah, the Lakers won last night. That's always good. I don't know if there's any Laker fans. Hopefully, there's no Houston fans. Sorry about that. But all right, so let's go ahead and talk. So what we're going to do this morning, I'm going to go ahead and break you guys up into groups. And what I want you guys to do is going over to Moodle. You look on, let me get back over here too. Of course, now it's not working. All right, so getting over to Moodle, what you guys will look at is the course reading for the week for week 2. And in there, you will find, there you go. So if you look at week 2 reading materials, you'll find an Intro to Torah by Yamada. Intro to Torah by Yamada. And so you'll see it should look like this. Should look something like this. And you guys will notice as you guys scroll down, there's certain sections that'll have black lines through them. Go ahead in your guys' groups, read through these. Again, you don't have to focus. It's almost impossible to decipher what's in the black lines, but reading through this, the short introduction by Frank Yamada, and then you can read through this section, all this right here. What this is going to do, it's going to help us to create a frame for how we're reading Genesis and creation as a whole for the next few weeks, especially as we're going to be talking about, we'll touch on it today, but specifically for Friday, which is why I give the grace for Friday, we'll be talking about Noah's story in the context of creation and how Noah's story provides a zenith between God's relationship with humanity, especially considering what happens in Genesis 3. Again, especially considering what happens in Genesis 3, we'll start to note some of the things as it goes with Genesis and the whole creation narrative. And so, again, we'll spend more time talking about it, introducing creation and that theme, but then we'll also spend even more time talking about Noah, pulling from your scriptures, story of Simon, and seeing some of the dynamics that are there and how Noah's story is going to provide a climax and somewhat of a resolution, but a kind of unresolved resolution, if that makes any sense, especially as it moves towards Abraham's story. So, I'm going to do, I'm going to take this down now, but what I am going to do, if you guys look over, again, over on Moodle, you'll see there under the PowerPoint presentations, if you open that up, and I'll go ahead and put this up on the screen for you guys that may or may not have it up. What I want you guys to do is looking at these questions, and I'll go ahead and post them to the chat so you guys can get a chance to look at them. Looking at these questions, as you guys are reading, come up with a few things for each question. Again, it'll be pretty obvious. Yamada writes really very sensibly, not overly dense where it's very difficult to understand. And so, yeah, so go ahead and read through the questions, answer the questions, and then we'll take about 15 minutes to get through it, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll start talking through creation. Again, I know it's 8 in the morning. We're still getting the crust off our eyes, the moquitos right there, the little crust right there on the edges, trying to flick those away, hoping nobody notices. So yeah, we'll work through this together, and then yeah, we'll make this make sense. It'll be good. So I'm gonna go ahead and send you guys into the breakout rooms. All right, what I'm gonna do, you should notice when you guys have the breakout rooms at the top, you'll have a number. And so, yeah, we'll just go by breakout room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll create 8 to keep the groups relatively small. Again, pick a person to bring up to answer a couple of these questions. And just write these things down if you're the person that's going to be talking about it. Write these things down because, yeah, we're going to be talking about these things and helping them to make sense. And again, this is to set the frame for how we're working through not just the Genesis narrative, but also Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, called the Torah. And then especially as we're working through Exodus and some of the narratives there, that this will help see why this event in Exodus has such a huge impact, not only on Israel's history and on their psyches, but then also why this event keeps reoccurring and keeps coming up later on in later events. And so, so I'm gonna go ahead and send you guys into breakout rooms. Again, if you guys are needing the questions, I'll go ahead and post them to the chat. It's on the first or second slide on the PowerPoint if you missed that. So I'm gonna go ahead and send you guys into the breakout rooms, and then we'll go ahead and then talk about it.
We can't hear you if you're talking to us, Partita. You're muted.
Oh, thank you for that. I gave the most beautiful introduction in the history of introductions, but all right. So we'll go ahead and we'll talk through, if you're looking at the questions on PowerPoint or if you have them there, either picture of it or saved. So let's go ahead and work through it. So what are some of the ways God, humanity, and other characters are described in this text, or the text of Pentateuch? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy. Numbers. Can't forget about Numbers.
I find generally humans are described as rebellious a lot throughout.
Yeah. Any specific instances come to mind?
Yeah, their reaction to getting to the promised land, watching a whole generation just be outside the promised land because of rebellion.
Yep. All right. Any others? Some of the ways God, humanity, and other characters are described in this text. Again, looking at Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, pulling from your articles from what you've already read.
For Israel,
Yeah.
or the tribes of Israel, it says should be distinguished from other nations. And it says that they're wandering, and it's talking about when they're wandering in the forest or
Yeah.
wilderness.
Yes. Good. Yes, because that's that distinguishing mark, and I'll talk about it when we get there, but that distinguish bit has everything to do with what we would describe as holiness. And that oftentimes what we hear holiness described as is being separate or set apart. And there's a component of that, especially when the sacrificial system comes in. But there's this intention for Israel that because of being in relationship with God, that they're supposed to be distinct, not apart from other nations, but distinct in the midst of all these other nations. That it's in the midst of all these other contexts, in the midst of all these other neighboring countries, that Israel is supposed to exist as what Israel is described as a light to the nations. And so good job bringing that up, because yeah, Israel has a really hard time with that. And especially when we get to talking about the monarchy, they're going to want to do the exact opposite thing. And so good. Anything else? The way that the text is describing for us God, humanity, or other characters.
I've got Sarah and Rebecca are
Yeah.
hardworking, and they try and ensure like social justice for their sons.
Yep. Good job, Jake. Yeah, and the text was so many, especially in Genesis and the start of Exodus bits later on, the story is going to be moved forward by women. That women will play the protagonists that help the stories to move forward. Again, Jake brought up Sarah. She's going to move the story forward. Rebecca's going to move the story forward. And then later on with Shiphrah and Puah, the Egyptian women who are the cause of why Moses ends up living, of how women serve as I won't say the foils, but they're definitely, the role that they play is moving the story forward towards an end that God ultimately worked towards his will. So again, that's meant to be subservient, not subservient, that's meant to be subversive, especially in a patriarchal culture where everything is followed through the male, that you have women playing such a central part in the story and play such a crucial part in the story. So, yep. Good. Anybody else? God and humanity are the characters that described in the text.
We said that Abraham was described as faithful and obedient to God.
Good. And what makes that an important part of what's happening in Genesis, especially considering the context?
Because the rest of humanity is kind of, like we said earlier, rebellious, and there's not a lot of people like that in that time.
Mm-hmm. Good. And what we're going to start seeing, especially as we move on to later texts, is how God is going to work. I brought this up in another group, but God's choosing of singular individuals or singular families, and then it'll start to develop, especially as we move from Genesis to Exodus. God's choosing to bring about deliverance through these singular individuals that decide to cooperate with God, and their cooperation then dubs them as righteous or faithful. And so good. All right, let me go ahead and get through what themes are present. I'm going to jump over one of the questions, but what themes are present?
Divinity.
What was that?
Divinity.
Divinity. Talk to me about that.
So like, what is it? Well, trying to find a bit that I found it. Like, it's God's rules, and he wants people to believe that the way that he's setting these, well, not rules, but like kind of how people should conduct themselves and become and how to live their life and be faithful to God.
Okay, good. Yeah, and that's what Torah means. The Torah means teaching. And so again, when we usually think Torah as law, that's where we kind of get misguided. But as you brought up, Jake, good. That it's teaching. It's meant to provide guidance. So good.
We
All right,
said
man. What themes? Go ahead.
covenant was a big one, a big recurring theme where God's constantly creating covenant and establishing that with his people, and then setting like boundaries of how that relationship is going to work.
Good. Good. And I'll let you guys know this now, and I'll keep bringing it up as the semester goes on. If you guys want to write this down, covenant is the way that God relates himself to humanity. Then when God wants to establish a relationship, what he's going to do what a lot of ancient people did, which is to create a covenant. The covenant is the way that God relates himself with humanity, through covenant. That it was in existence before Abraham's time. And so God kind of sends and picks up this thing called covenant and decides over and over and over again that, hey, I'm going to create this relationship with humans in a way that they understand. So it's God coming to us, meeting us where we're at. Even though it's a long time ago, our ancient relatives, and meeting them where they're at and speaking to them in terms that where they understand, in order to both create relationship and then also to provide the means for redemption. So and we'll talk about that, how kind of it gets us there. So all right, well, let me go ahead, because we do want to get into some of this, and this will be important for us when we talk about, we'll talk about this bit, but it'll come back again on Friday. Let me go ahead and share this with you guys. So with creation, what we're going to see at the beginning, well, I'm talking about Genesis 1. Genesis 1. I don't think I have my Bible with me, so I'm going to have to pull it up. Pull it up. All right. So in the beginning, this is Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was on the surface of the deep. That part, the deep, I'm going to come back to, but if you have your Bible, circle it, underline it. If not, if you're looking at it online or if you're not looking at it all, just to remember the deep, or write down that word, the deep, because we're going to come back to it. It'll come up later. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. That you have God creating the heavens and the earth, and there you have the deep, and then you have the Spirit hovering over those waters, which is going to be very important for us, because it cues us in on a couple things. That what we have at the beginning is this repetition with God being revealed in this text. That Genesis is a theological book. The whole Bible is a theological book, and what I mean by that is that its main character, the point of what it's trying to make, is about God. It's trying to tell us something about God. And here in the God in the Old Testament, in Genesis 1, is being described as creator. And you guys will learn this if you haven't learned it yet in your cultures class. For those of you that are taking cultures, you already know, but you'll be working through this in cultures pretty soon. That you have other contexts in the ancient Near East where there's other divinities, there are other deities, there's other gods that are fighting to try to take top dog. You have other deities that procreate and they produce creation, or they produce humanity. That we won't go through it in this class, but in Pentateuch we go through different creation stories. But it's here, and what Genesis is trying to tell us, that in the beginning that there's just God. One of the assumptions that the Bible brings to the text is that there's no competition, there's no rival deity, there's no a battle that needs to be fought in order for creation to happen. But just at the beginning, this is what's happening. And the reason why I bring up the bit about waters is that waters represents chaos. Waters represents chaos. And you'll think both here, you could think in Jonah, you could think even in the New Testament with Jesus walking on water, and why the disciples' minds are just completely blown out, that because waters represented chaos, there was something that needed to be tamed. And so what you see is God here at the beginning, there's no competition, and the Spirit is just kind of chilling over the waters. That the Spirit's just kind of chilling over the waters. But then we also have this account when read through Genesis, and you guys will see there on the PowerPoint that with the way that that Genesis is set up, with how God creates after that, with God speaking, that the way things are going to be ordered, again, you have the day and night, waters above, land and vegetation, and then you go down to down to 4, sun to rule the day, moon to rule the night, birds, he's going to fill out the sky, he's going to fill out the seas, and he's going to fill the earth. The land, animals, and humanity, let the land produce living creatures. And then you see these kinds of things kind of moving towards God first creating the frame for everything, which is why you'll have light and day formed, and then he's going to fill it in with the moon and the stars and then the sun. Why? Because again, this thought that there's creating a frame first, and then God's going to fill it in. So again, it's kind of like building a house. You wouldn't put a furniture on an open field without creating a plot of land, without putting the house there first. You want to lay down the foundation. You want to put in the 2x4s all over the place. You want to build the walls. You want to put in the drywall, put in the insulation. You want to do that obviously in reverse order, but again, you're going to want to build that house first before you put in the furniture. And that's essentially what God is doing, is that he's building the frame of creation and then starting to stock up what those specific kind of areas, whether it be the sky, whether it be the land, whether it be the waters. And so what God's doing there. But everything is pointing towards what we have on that seventh day, which is God coming to rule. And so when God on the seventh day is resting, and this is kind of what I've already described. When God's resting, it's because he's the ultimate king. That it's God taking his seat on his throne in creation. And this is going to be important for us to know, because already at the beginning, and again, as I said, that Genesis is a theological book. The whole of the Bible is a theological book, but specifically here in Genesis, that is trying to describe to us how God is king and how he's creating his palace. And those of you that have read through the Psalms, it describes the earth as his footstool. Again, that the imagery that we get from Genesis is describing God as king. Describing God as king. And as a king, God is going to desire to want to be in cooperation with these humans. And you'll have talked about that or read about that in your reading drama of scripture. But as we come to find out in Genesis 3, that things don't necessarily go according to plan. That we have with God creating the humans, that you have God creating co-partners with him to co-rule over creation. And that what humanity is meant to do is to be stewards of the earth. That humanity is given the task to do two things. And you'll want to note this, underline it, memorize it, whatever you want to do. That to rule as priests and kings, or you can think priestesses for the females and queens of Yahweh. That they're not just created just to kind of float out there and just to hang out, but they're created for a purpose, and that purpose is meant to both be, as a priest, to be a reflection, as a priest to be a reflection, and as a king or a queen, it means to be a steward, to be responsible for that which is placed under their care. Again, to be a steward or to be responsible for that which is under their care on God's behalf. And so, and that being said, we start to see why in Genesis 3, why these things start to unravel. And as we get to the story of Noah, which we'll talk about on Friday, and as we get to start to talk about Abraham, we start to see why, when you guys have brought up themes with rebellion, why it's so, why we ought to kind of be taken aback of why this is so prominent, and why the authors again and again and again describe the rebellion of the people It's because of this call, this initial gift they've been given, which is to be kings and priests with Yahweh, or under Yahweh's care, that they have a task, which again is to be priests or priestesses or kings and queens, both. So is that making sense? Are there any questions so far, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I had one.
Go ahead.
When you talked about the how God chooses a certain individual
Yeah.
and a family, I was thinking about that because even in Noah, God chose Noah in his generation. He said that in his generation that he seen Noah was righteous, and like it seemed like in every generation, God chooses certain people to do the work, like to like on a different level. I would say, like
Yeah.
that builds denominations, builds ministries, and I'm because God uses everyone. I believe that, but I believe that certain people get used a little bit more because He chooses them. Because that's what it kind of looks like over through all the history, and even through our readings. That's kind of what I've been like building up, like what I'm kind of getting out of it, and I think that was pretty good that you brought that up too. So.
Yeah. And the big thing with that isn't it's kind of double-edged, where that we don't want to just lean one side or the other, where it's God only chooses individuals, or that it's all on us to cooperate, or else God's not going to use us again. But that it's both, is that God invites all of our collective participation in order to accomplish His will in the world, and that God invites us into accomplishing His will. But what we have in the Bible are these exemplary stories of people that they mess up. They're not perfect. They have character flaws, like they have severe family dysfunctional issues, but more often than not that they choose to obey, even when it doesn't make sense. Again, with you guys have just talked about Noah, that Noah was tasked with building this giant boat in an age where it probably really didn't make sense. But again, in the context of violence, when you do have violence and spreading all over the world, that you have Noah being marked as righteous, again, for no other reason than his desire to want to follow what God is telling him to do. And so, again, the point for us, again, we got to take it on both sides, where in as much as we're invited and chosen because of Jesus to participate in God's work, that we're also invited, that our cooperation is expected but not demanded. That our cooperation as disciples of Jesus is expected but not demanded. Which again, as you guys are reading through the stories in the Old Testament of seeing why do these people keep on messing up, especially in Judges, and why do they keep messing up in Numbers, we fall into the same kinds of temptations, and especially right now in seasons where it's just discombobulating, nothing makes sense, lots of things are uncertain, lots of things are up in the air, not sure how we're going to pay for things, not sure what's going to happen the next week, next month, next year, and still struggling with knowing that what God would have us to do. And I'm in the same place right there with you guys. I had gone from about 2 or 3 jobs at the start of May to knowing that, okay, I'm going to have to be leaving this soon. To go in summertime was a bit difficult, but a lot more questions than I have answers. But it's in those kinds of places where not only is our faith tested, but ultimately will we become, not only is our faith formed as disciples, but it's in those kinds of wilderness spaces that we come to recognize and learn who God is in those kinds of places and spaces. And so it's oftentimes in the discomfort where we're confronted with the reality of who God is. And through practices like prayer, contemplation, spending time quiet, and asking the Lord, like, what is happening? What are you doing right now? What do I need to learn in order to God, not just make it through the season, but in order to be able to be faithful in this season right now? But it's difficult. It's difficult. That you'll see, especially as we start moving on to to Exodus, you see some difficulties with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You only glance over the stories, but that the difficulties of faithfulness in the long run, It's hard. It's difficult. But again, that's what these stories are trying to get across to us and push us towards, is that that God still invites obedience. That God still invites our participation. Why? Because we have this initial vocation as being kings and priests, queens and priestesses, of reflecting God in the world, and also being stewards of the earth that He's given us to be responsible for. So, so yeah. So that, but it's both that yeah, God does give us the charge to be responsible and to faithfully follow Him, and sometimes it's only individuals that follow, which is the sad part. And so, good. Yeah, it's good to note those kinds of things, especially again when you're reading the text and making these kinds of connections with what's happening. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, so we'll go ahead and press pause there. We'll come back to what's going on with the rest of Genesis 3 and take up, we'll get through Noah and talking about Abraham for Friday. But yeah, make sure you guys are getting your assignments in. You guys have a few more days to get your scripture story in on Friday, if you haven't done so already. Now, yeah, are there any other questions?
So if we already did that assignment, the only thing due is the quiz?
Yep.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. So yeah, so if you've already got it done, no sweat, on to the next thing. If you need a bit more time because you feel like, yeah, I kind of just turned in whatever I had, yeah, feel free to resubmit it. I know Moodle sometimes gives issues, so if you're having an issue with that, just email it to me. We'll call it good. All right, so yeah, you guys have as many times as you guys need for the quiz, so look at it early and often if you can. Again, before you guys get into your reading again, take a look at the quiz and see what I'm looking for. All right, well, if you guys don't have any more questions, you guys have an excellent Wednesday. Get some coffee, drink water. Do it. All right, see you guys. See you guys on Friday. Again, office hours tomorrow, 2 to 4.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh,
Later.
Christian, stay on. So I have the book, and I'm over here in the office. I don't know. It looks like you're in the dorm room, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If you want to come out to right here out front of the caf, I can meet you there and I can get you the book.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome, man.
All right.
See you in a little bit.
For sure.
All right, later, man.
Mhm.